Good morning. My name is Joe Feria Galicia. I'm with the Berkeley Resource Center for Online Education. And this is the second in a series of workshops that we're going to be presenting on different aspects of accessibility. The important thing to know is that we're also trying our hardest to create a context to build community on campus around the issues of accessibility, specifically online content accessibility. So the goal is that we get to know each other here and that we also have a place to reflect back on today's workshop. So we are going to be recording it. And I think everything in this room is recordable. According to the sign over when you walk in, you're kind of giving permission to be recorded. This particular PowerPoint will be downloadable as well. And there is some confidentiality involved. So we also created a B course that requires use your CalNet ID to log in to get access to it. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that site during this presentation, and we could actually do some testing on it. Okay. So our goals are to review basic quality assurance categories for accessibility. And what I mean by quality assurance is at Berkeley, we have a workflow for testing for accessibility for our B courses, for our, all our Canvas courses, but also for edX courses. So if you're interested in the future to build any content in any of those platforms, this would pass the quality assurance. And the quality assurance is also tied to WCAG 2 standards, which is right now the Americans for Disability Act, Section 508 is covered under that, but also Title II will be moving toward that, and the UC system is aligned with WCAG 2 standards as well. And I'm going to show you how to install two very simple automated testing tools. And I want to emphasize that they're really simple to use. In the past, we've had access to a UC-wide vendor that wasn't really simple at all. It was really difficult. And it wasn't until the last 6 months that we've had access to these particular tools. They're called bookmarklets. Anyone could install it. You wouldn't need an administrative password to install it. So we're going to be focused around just these two tools. And then I want to make time for you all to test it on your own site. So most of you brought your own laptops or are probably willing to share with someone who didn't. But again, it's like the idea is hands-on so that you can start looking at content right away. And again, the idea of building community is just going to be central to all of these workshops. So getting to know who's in the room and what your interests are is going to be central to our agenda. So we're actually going to start with some group sharing, where just letting us know what are your web content testing interests and concerns. And then I'll show you what to test in terms of our QA categories. We'll do some browser installations of two tools, Totally and HTML Code Sniffer, and demonstrations, some more group work. We'll talk about next steps in terms of that portal that I mentioned in B courses. And then Lucy Greco is going to show us what these different web content, either websites or B courses, what they look like or what they sound like on her screen reader. And also just to let you know, I'm using this abbreviation ALLI for accessibility, and that comes from I think the developers or the coder world, they like to abbreviate everything. So it's A11 or A11Y. So there's 11 characters between A and Y in accessibility. So you'll see that a lot here. Okay, so let's start with introductions and in your groups. And then I guess this is the point where I'll ask you to if you can move to this group over here, to this table, to introduce yourselves and let us know let your group know what your interests are in terms of web content testing for accessibility. And then afterwards, we'll regroup, and then we'll do a whole group introduction and start naming some of these interesting concerns. And I'm going to document them on the PowerPoint. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this PowerPoint. And I mentioned this last workshop. This is an accessible template for a PowerPoint, and it's available on our Berkeley Hub. and I'll make sure I navigate to it when I'm reviewing that site. But everyone here has access to it, and then there is going to be a PowerPoint workshop on how to add content, how to modify it. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start documenting what folks' interests and concerns about accessible content and testing. So we'll start with this group over here. So if someone could introduce themselves. I think everyone could also introduce themselves in the group instead of one person, and then we'll document at least 3 interests and concerns.
Jesse Lowsberg, Library Communications.
And then what are your top 3 interests or concerns? We could do more if need be.
Right. I think, let's see, PDFs on the berkeley.edu website.
Yeah. Well,
On the New Center website.
Okay, so I'm going to call it downloadable content or downloadable files. That could be PDF and Word and InDesign.
Forms. Yeah.
Adobe Forms or HTML forms?
HTML.
Ah, okay.
I also thought it was interesting the issue of multiple authors for blogs and things who may not do all the alt tags and things like that, and who has time to check everything. And for me, it's just a one-person shop is not the main thing I do, but I'm the only person that really does it. So.
Okay, a website,
That's
basically.
what the community is all about.
Yeah, after today, you aren't alone.
Thank you.
Okay, that was really helpful. Let's jump to the group over here. Right.
I'm Miles with the Teaching and Learning Services team at ETS. And my interests are, one, just getting a really broad perspective of accessibility, because I look at a lot of different tools and look at technology from a lot of different perspectives. And then also looking at it more specifically from like a service perspective. So like, how do we work with vendors around ensuring good best practice accessibility?
All right, Miles, I'm going to need your help here because you're talking about third-party platforms as well.
Yeah.
Let me just write that. Okay. And then you also talked about different tools. Can you explain that one a little bit more?
Oh yeah, just that primary, the working vendors is kind of my primary point to it, but like I like to come to these to hear about what everyone else is thinking about, because then if someone asks me about a certain thing I hadn't thought about, I can think, she's working on something similar, apply it. So
Okay.
you don't need to write that down.
No, but I just want to make sure I got it, because the third-party vendors could be applied to like a plugin for Canvas or for bcourse, or
Yeah.
or it could be something like Qualtrics, right?
Yeah. So something that like is being used widely at the campus. We have workflows like working with Lucy's team to review and then share that feedback with the vendor.
Okay, and then making sure the RFP has accessibility written into it.
Yeah. So getting it through that whole workflow of having it in mind when we're looking at things, and then continuing to work with them as we're using those tools.
Wonderful.
I had a session on that on Tuesday. And nobody showed up.
I did not hear about it, so I need to.
It was in UCCSC.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kathy Spicer Sites, and I work at the World Salt Science. And I basically work on their website and also build out sites for different departments there. So accessibility is something that we're trying to, always think about. So it's always good for me to come to these to see all the new stuff I hadn't thought about. I hadn't even thought about HTML forms. I'm like, oh yeah. That's one more thing. And also videos is something that we're concerned about as well, video captioning.
Okay, what platform are you working off of?
Our main site's on Drupal, but I'm building out sites on WordPress and also using Dreamweaver.
Okay. All right, and then the last group over in the corner.
Brian DeJohn Domenico, senior manager with Burco. What's the second part? What are my concerns?
Concerns and interests in terms of testing?
With regards to testing, I mean, my interest is more, I would love to see, the UCY testing tool come back online. Like, what was the Site Improve or some kind of crawler. But I do think, the tools that we're looking at today are very helpful and user friendly. But I do think this is what we need to kind of establish any kind of standard or bottom line standard across the UC with it being so decentralized. If we had a crawler going through everything, you could actually enforce the thing. You just crawl it, and then people get a notice that you have until such and such a date to fix this content, or it's coming down.
So thanks for the thanks for the lead-in. I'm Lucy Greco. I'm the accessibility evangelist for Berkeley, and I lead the system-wide initiative for accessibility. And we are currently in our final stage of an RFP to replace the old tool. We have 2 candidates. I can't tell you which 2 of those are. And we will have the final scoring in September, and we should have a tool in place for January. Probably not till July though, because it's UC and we move very, very slowly. And my primary interest here is reminding people that it's very important to consider that accessibility is about real people, and to consider real people when you're doing your accessibility.
Hi, my name is Tommaso. I'm Berkeley Extension web developer, and my interest is that I feel like I don't really have a tool that I have tools that I've used to evaluate the accessibility of the sites I build. I don't think I'm happy with any tool I use and feel like it's sufficient. So I'm excited to learn a little more.
I'm Tim Gotch with ETS. I work in a variety of capacities with ETS. We've been very focused on the captioning end of things, and not so much on the web end of things. And we need to work on that a little bit, or at least my specific group needs work on that bit. The ETS in general is pretty accessible, but we have lots of documentation scattered around that it's not. So this is going to be helpful for working on that a bit.
Okay, so we got downloadable files, HTML forms. And content. So I got you there. I think I got everything people mentioned. Is there anything else anyone wants to add? No. Okay. So let me go ahead and save this, and we'll continue to do some more group work when it's time to start practicing. So let me just switch over to this question, what to test? And that is a big question, because a lot of the tools out there will give you a lot of feedback that's just too overwhelming. So what we did is our team is involved in remediating some of the MOOC courses, and we needed basic categories for doing our quality assurance. And we made this public. So there's this accessibility basics course, and I'm going to link it within the B course that I created for the series of workshops. So everyone will have access to it. But it's just called Accessibility Basics, and it's in Edge right now. I think it would be a good idea for us to make a version for Canvas as well. So let me just get to there and just show you the outline really quick.
Can we just include this in the existing accessibility course? Just tag it on at the end.
Yeah, as a resource. Yeah, as a link, or the content. You mean the content?
Well, I don't know. Let's talk.
Yeah, we could figure it out.
Yeah, because I just don't want to have. I'm thinking we have multiple courses with multiple stuff all over the place, it starts to get.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's why I'm hesitant to move it out of this particular platform right now, because the edX is been prioritized. The thing is that we have screenshots on how to use the WYSIWYG to add content accessibly. So I would just need to customize it for a particular platform. Lucy, you want to make a comment?
No, keep going.
Okay.
I'm saying, move on.
Sorry for the aside.
All right. So I got, this is, we're calling it a quick start guide. I don't have time to go through everything, but I do want to show you what the specific areas that our testing tool, the first one is going to help us assess really quickly. The first one is headings or heading levels. And so I'll go ahead and read this so that I could stay on point. But screen reader and assistive technology, or AT, users browse sections of a website or learning management system using headings or subheadings. We call them H1, H2, H3, H4. Including these headings on a page as semantic structure, so it adds meaning and provides essential organization for navigation. Without headings, pages are presented as one long paragraph to screen reader users. Right, Lucy?
Correct.
Additionally, constructing content with using headings allows all learners to more readily locate, identify, and understand logical units of information. So it's not just benefiting assistive technology users, it's benefiting everybody. And then we also link to the WCAG2 guidelines here. So this is 2.46, and it's called Headings and Labels. So if you select that, it'll open it up, and it specifically will tell you what the WCAG2 standard language is. But I'm not going to stay there, because sometimes that website is a little confusing. It's really nice to have specific examples, and the testing tools that I'm going to show you will help identify the specific code that is in violation and identify the standard as well. So that's the heading level. So the best practice is to use heading tags to structure all pages and documents based on the main topics and subtopics. So for us, we use like module one or readings or something that's required. And then we add subheadings to that. One of the questions that comes up is like when you're linking. Oh, actually, I'm going to save that to links. I'm sorry. I have a kind of like a graphic of what heading levels look like in indented form. So I got a heading level 1, it's to the far left, and then heading level 2 is indented a little bit more. Heading level 3, another heading level 3 that are indented, from the level 2, and then we switch back to a level 2, and then it's indented back with that particular heading level. So you could go from a heading level 1 to a 3, 1, 2, and then 3, and then you go back to a heading level 2. You wouldn't jump back to a heading level 1. We usually just want one H1 on a page. And this also applies to Word documents and PDF files. There's some exceptions to that, but those are our best practices. Yes.
So I think the underlying style sheets, though, like we have headings, but sometimes the heading 1 is like too big and heading 2 is too big. So I often use heading 4, but I don't use heading 1, 2, 3 on the page. So am I like tripping somebody out by not? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
And then
So the question always gets asked, what did I miss?
Yeah. So on something like that, I might need to go back to my developer and say, help me fix the style sheets on this, because make some so that I like the way it looks and it's not weird.
Yeah.
But that it also makes it so that it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for asking that question, because there's two things here. Like one of them is like the platform has its own CSS that needs to be amended, and you could have one style sheet for the whole platform, but then you could also have other style sheets that you could be more specific to whatever content. The important thing is that you want to be consistent, so that if you need to change or update it, you're just updating that particular style sheet for the whole site. But yeah, I'm highlighting on here, it just says, do not pick heading styles based on aesthetics or because you like the font, color, or size. So you do need to work with the developer. Lucy, you want to add anything to that?
You're also messing up your searchability score, your SEO score, because we like to say in the industry, Google is blind, and Google crawls your site and checks your importance on the heading level. So if you're marking the title of your page as an H4, they're not going to rank you nearly as high as somebody else who's actually used proper semantic structure.
And then the other aspect to this is you could also use what's called inline styling to hard code your font type, your font size, your font color. But then later on, when you want to update the site, that inline style is going to take precedent over your CSS. So in terms of managing a site long-term or making it so that it's not dependent on one person, you want to stick to your CSS as much as possible. All right, so let me go to, so again, like this is an example of how to add headings in edX with using the WYSIWYG or the rich text editor. So let me go back to that course guide. I'm just going to go over the main points. I also have things about bulleted lists, numbered lists, but our accessibility checkers aren't testing that. But you do want to use lists correctly. Use color strategically. All right, so this is a big one. Let me just refresh this real quick. I'm going to go to the best practices. So you do want to avoid only using color to convey meaning. You could use color to convey meaning, but you need something else, a secondary thing, like an asterisk with, to describe why you're using that color. But you don't want to just use color for meaning. And then you need to check for color contrast. There are tools that I have listed on here, like Color Contrast Analyzer, and you could download that and put it on your desktop. ColorZilla is another one, and then there's Color Contrast Checker. But the tools that I'm going to show you also will test for that automatically. And what we want is for your normal size text, 4.5 to 1 ratio, or for larger text, which is 18 points or 14 point bold, 3.1 ratio. Tommaso, you have a question?
Yeah, the avoiding to use color to convey meaning, does it include the strong tag? I was under the impression the strong tag was translatable to screen readers.
It is not.
Oh, okay, I gotta choose on my sites.
So
the other thing to be, I mean, the color contrast thing, well, this whole issue, we run into this a lot, color contrast especially, with the vendors. Who is that?
I'd rather not name them because this is being recorded. But yes, there is a vendor that doesn't want to change their color contrast ratio because it's it's part of their marketing. It's their branding.
The other piece too, when you're working with faculty and faculty, generated content. So if you have, slide decks and things like that, like these are all issues that need to be addressed. Even if it's going into video, right? So if they're doing voiceover PowerPoint and everything, like if they're using color, they don't have the right contrast, they don't have the right font sizes, and they're using color wrongly, like when it goes into a video, there's no way to check it other than visually, right? So if you see these things, like these are the things that we need to work with faculty and training them on. Because once you get the video, or then whatever it is, then it's too late. You either have to go back in and redo the whole thing, So for those of us or those of you who work with faculty, this is one of those things that we definitely want to get out there.
Yeah, and just to go back to that bold, Lucy, use it sparingly or just not use it at all?
It's actually okay to use it, but you have to find another way of communicating meaning as well.
Can screen readers read font weight?
No.
Okay.
So the thing
Can you repeat the question?
Screen readers can read font weight.
Oh, the font weight, okay. And the answer, can screen readers read font weight? And the answer is no.
Yeah, and the thing is it's important to use these things because there are other disabilities that actually benefit from doing things like that. You have to still use them, but you have to find some other way of conveying the importance or the meaning that you're trying to convey with that. So if the reason you're emphasizing something is because it's important, in the sentence, just say, please note, it is very important too. It's
Or
multiple ways of conveying the image.
and it's not just important, like any differentiation that you're, like, if you're trying to show some sort of distinction between different types of topics, contents, whatever,
Yeah,
then those things need to be, that needs to be expressed to a screen reader user as well. So that's one of the things people do with the font weights and the indents and all of those things as well. So it's like you have to think about how to format that in such a way that a screen reader user is going to be able to see it as well.
so the best example I could think of is if you had a list of multiple items and at the top of the list you said everything in green belongs to Mary, but everything in blue belongs to John. The only way to actually indicate that to a screen reader user is by saying John's coat, Mary's pants, John's book. It's not, the screen reader user is never going to get the green or the blue or the yellow. I mean, we can go and look for it, but we're not going to. Most people don't even know how to tweak their screen reader to do that. They can do it as two, and the best thing to do is never do a list of multiple items that have differences. Separate the lists as two separate lists.
Can you put an alt tag in a strong tag? Would that be like, you would this?
You're getting, yeah. Depending on what that alt tag says, remember it's going to show up on Hover.
Right.
But it's, yeah, alt text is exactly for this purpose.
So the question was, can you add alternative text to a strong tag? And the response from Lucy was yes, it's possible.
But be sure that the alt text is conveying the message.
Make sure the alt text is conveying a message. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go to links next. So we call this self-describing links, which provide context to screen reader users and should explain the destination of the hyperlink text. The most unique content of the link should be presented first. Screen readers will often navigate the links list by searching via the first letter. So let me just go to the next thing. So these are best practices. Use descriptive hyperlinks to label the destination so it makes sense out of context. Craft phrases rather than single words for link text so users with limited motor control, the mobile users, can more readily select links. Do not use click here to indicate a web link. And there's so many of those out there. It does get really frustrating. There's some examples on there. Ordinarily, links to external sites should not open a new web tab or browser window.
What should be indicated that they do leave the site?
She's jumping ahead of me. But there are cases when you do need to. For instance, when you're in a password protected site, you want to maintain the SSL integrity or the protections. So those are cases that you want to. The good thing about Canvas or bCourses is those that link text is automatically provided that it is leaving that particular browser tab.
Let me give a better example of that, Joe.
Go ahead.
So say you have a really intense long form that has maybe 20, 30, 40 form fields to be filled out, and you wanted a description of specifically how to enter data into one of those fields of the form. You can put the help link for that particular form field that it opens in a new window, because of course you don't want the person having to go back to the form then and re-find their place. You want them just to be able to click on that, get the help text, dismiss that other browser window and come back. That's the acceptable time to open in a new window. But having multiple windows means that a person can't find their way back to where they were. So somebody will open a link, and if you have it all automatically going to a new browser page, they end up at that page and then they hit the browser back, and the browser back doesn't bring them back to where they were because it's in a new window. It gets really confusing and really distracting or disorienting.
Okay, and then the last point on here is if an image is used or if an image is used to link out somewhere else, you got to also use that alt text. All right, so let me go back. There's only a couple more items on here. Tables are really important, but the tools that I have don't indicate that. So we did build a course specifically on tables, and if someone could remind me where that's located in our Berkeley Hub, I do want to point it out. But tables are really difficult to remediate if they're not structured or laid out properly or normally without a lot of like collapse spans and things like that. Okay, and then I just have, for downloadable files, that's pretty much a separate workshop. And I am going to be presenting on accessible Word files, accessible PowerPoint files, and Adobe Acrobat. So I'm going to kind of leave that until then, but I will point out the resources for how to create those. They are available to you right away. I just can't explain it all today. All right, so everyone has access to this. So let me jump back to the PowerPoint. And I'm going to show you how to install some evaluation tools. And I'll demonstrate it, and then I'm going to, let me see, give you all time to actually do some work. So let me do that. So if you just Googled Berkeley Hub, BRCOEHUB, it'll take you to this site. I'm on the evaluation section. And there's so many different evaluation tools, like free tools out there. I used to really love this functional accessibility evaluator. Very comprehensive. I still like it, but I don't need that much information all the time when I'm doing like QA. Instead, there's these bookmarklets, Totally and HTML Code Sniffer. So I'm going to first select Totally. And it brings me to this Khan Academy site. And I like demonstrating this because to me, it wasn't really intuitive how to install it. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit. And it's not until we get down to this, it says installation. And then there's this rectangle that says Totally on it. And what you do is you grab it and you just drag it to your bookmarks. So I'm doing that now. Okay, now it's installed. And I'll do the same. I'm going to go back to the Berkeley Hub and do the same for HTML Code Sniffer. So I just select it. This one's a little bit easier. It's kind of, I don't have to scroll down, but it says get the Accessibility Auditor bookmarklet. And it says drag this link to your bookmark bar to install. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. So isn't that nice? Just that feature. I don't have to call CSS and put in a ticket and get them to install something because I don't have admin privileges. It's just on my browser. Really simple. And it's been working wonderfully on Chrome, on Firefox, and on Safari.
You'll have to do that on all your browsers.
Yeah, you do want to test them on the different browsers. Okay, so they are installed right now. I'm going to go back to, this is the edX course. And I'm going to, let me see, something like, I'll go to the tables section. And I'm going to view this as a learner. Okay, so I'm on the Accessibility Basics edX course. And if I want to test it, I'm just going to hit this Totally on the bookmark toolbar. And it opens up these little pair of glasses on the bottom left. Okay, so I'm going to select that. And then it gives me options to test for headings, for contrast, for link text, for labels, image alt text, landmarks. And then there's also this experimental screen reader wand. So let's just go through these one by one. So I'm going to start by headings. And so I selected that, and it opened up a window, and it's listing what the headings are on this page. So it starts off Berkeley LA Accessible Basics, and then it goes table overview, tables in edX. How does a screen reader user know a table's a data table? And then it says data tables. I'm going to close the these glasses real quick so that you can see. So it actually indicates on the page what is an H2, what's an H3, and so on. Very simple. Before, let me refresh this. If I wanted to take a look at it, I could use the inspection tool. So if I right click, there it gives me the option for inspect, and then it's giving me all of the code, and I would have to kind of dig in there. Actually, it's highlighting it pretty easily right here. It's just not very intuitive, and I would, if I wanted to look at the whole page, I would need to look at the code. So this saves quite a bit of time. So I'm going to do this one more time to another tab. I'm just trying to get some of this other stuff out of the way. Okay, so this is another page on this course. So I just hit totally. The eyeglasses show up, test the headings, and then everything looks pretty good on here.
Is there a printable output for this?
I haven't found a printable output other than screen capture and then printing that out. And just to let you all know, this isn't screen reader friendly in any way. Okay, so the next thing, oh, and the other thing to notice as well that's really important is that the platform itself is assigning this H1. So it's saying, you know, Berkeley LA Accessibility Basics. It's been assigned, and that's the name of this course. And then it allows for the next, I guess this is a section in edX. It's automatically adding that as an H2. It isn't until I get into the content, like don't use tables. This is the content that I, as a user, can add in edX. I want to demonstrate this in B courses as well because most people are using B courses. And we just found out that B courses just changed how the headings are being assigned. Again, they do this periodically. Platforms will update or upgrade, make changes, and things get kind of thrown out of whack. So I will show you that. Just because today it is accessible doesn't mean like the platform isn't going to change tomorrow. So we kind of need to be vigilant about this.
I mean, they do have, what do they call it when they send out their editing updates? They send out a report. Canvas sends out when they're doing, what is it?
Release notes?
Yeah, the release notes. So they do have the release notes, but the release notes don't always include that. So it is, I think we should test after every one of these. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go to contrast, and it's, again, no errors showed up, and it's telling me what the contrast ratios are throughout the course. You know, so this is super easy, super friendly, very intuitive. Let me go to another section, and I'm going to try do that one more time. Totally contrast, link text. It's giving me an error for link text, and it's telling me that about isn't, it could be confusing. It's not descriptive enough. I personally don't agree with that one, so I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to, and this is being added by the platform itself. Now, I'm going to give Lucy an opportunity to correct me here. And if she thinks that this is a valid bug, then the next step for me would be to report this to the vendor.
So I'm not going to say it's not valid. I'm not going to say it's valid. I'm going to say that this is something that you need to confirm, that it's clear. Make sure that this link out of context will make sense. What you're thinking about when you're thinking about the name of a link is think about a person only seeing that link and not seeing the information around it, not knowing where that link is going, not knowing what the page it's on is. About is a very commonly used link. About us might be a little better, but about edX would probably be the best. Think about a person seeing that link completely out of context and having no idea what's going on around it. So, you know, having links that say module 1, what's module 1 about? Where am I going to go when I end up in module 1? What's module 2? What's the difference between 1 and 2? They also all start with M, so that means, you know, if you've got module 1 through 12, you've got 10 M's, it makes it harder to find, say, module 7 or 8.
On the screen here, we're also showing there's a visual indication in pink where that about is located so that you could spot the problem. So let me go back. So it also tests for labels, and labels are needed when there's like when there are forms. This page doesn't have it, so there's nothing coming up. Image alt text. There is a yellow on here with exclamation mark, and when I hover over it, it says this image is decorative. So it's been nulled. There's no alt text on here other than quote unquote, most likely. It's not a violation. It's that particular image isn't adding meaning to this page.
But it's also saying that you should confirm that that's correct. It's telling you to confirm that. Yeah. It's flagging it for you to look and make sure, oh yeah, that is something a blind person doesn't need to know anything about, or yes, they do need to know something about it.
Okay, so over here we have landmarks. This is I guess the second to the last option, and these are, it's known as ARIA, and throughout this particular page, the developer created these tags so that screen reader could have a better way of navigating and understanding the content of the page. So one of them is presentation, and then there says tabs. There's a tab panel. Actually, and that's it. And then Lucy, do you want to add anything else about ARIA? Landmarks specifically?
Is that just looking at ARIA landmarks? Is it looking at HTML5 for agents as well?
No, just add ARIA landmarks.
Okay. It's just another way of doing navigational structure. You can have the content of your page have 30 or 40 headings, but if you want a person to quickly jump to the content of your page, that's best to mark that as main content. Navigation, footer, those are just, it's kind of an overarching structure for landmarks.
Okay, and then the last option is the screen reader one. It says it's experimental, but if you hover over, there's a window that will indicate what a screen reader will be reading in that particular section. So yeah, I'm hovering over some of these icons, and it's telling me that no visible, no text visible to screen reader on these, on this navigation right here. All right, so any questions about Totally? With this?
Yeah, with the wand.
Okay, the help and my name, the edX Edge logo.
I think that's why it's experimental. I think that wand only reads inside certain tags.
It's new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole toolbar is new. This was developed by Khan Academy to actually test their own Khan Academy content. When they realized that accessibility was this whole new thing, they jumped on the wagon really quickly.
Okay.
Less than a year old.
I'm going to, so what I do after I run Totally is I hit the refresh just to clear it out. Next, I want to show you this HTML code sniffer. And this is a lot more comprehensive. All I did, I just selected that bookmarklet, and then it opened up a new window. And it has, visually it's indicating that there's one error in red, and then there's 6 warnings and 40 notices. So I'm gonna turn off the warnings real quick, and then I'm gonna hit view report so I can see what the error is. And then it says this element row is presentation, but contains child elements with semantic meaning. So I'm gonna select that and see what's the big fuss here. So what it did is it expanded a window, and then it's giving me this option. It's called a point to element. I'm going to select that, and then there's this little yellow ball kind of jumping up to indicate where on the page it's located. It also tells me the success criteria, and this is where the it differentiates from Totally because it's giving us the specific WCAG 2 standard. So it's saying 1.3.1 info and relationships. You could select that and it'll take you to the WCAG 2 page. And then it says information, structure, and relationships conveyed through presentation can be programmatically determined or are available in text. I'm going to go back to the page. And then it gives us below that the code snippet so that you could locate it. But overall, the fact that this report only came up with 1 error and 6 warnings, it's an indication that the developer has accessibility in mind. I'm not going to be too worried to approach them about issues because they've incorporated into their workflows. After you all have a chance to look into your own sites, we could share some web resources up front, and we could run Totally in front of everybody and Code Sniffer, and we could just get a sense of what the shape of other people's resources are as well. Any questions so far? Okay, so I've been doing this for at UC Berkeley for 3 years. I've used different tools. These 2 tools have drastically reduced the amount of time that I need for a quick overview in terms of accessible content. And that's why, like, finally I feel comfortable and confident to share these with other folks and to encourage their use, because they could be incorporated very quickly into your own workflows in terms of assessing your content. Does anyone have any questions or comments just about that statement? Does it seem easy to use?
Much easier.
And then, Tomaso, have you experienced with these at all? Or?
No, I've been using Faye and AI Inspector and feel totally overwhelmed at using them. These are so much easier.
I've been using the Wave tool, which is good for, I mean, it just throws a ton of information at you, and it's really hard to parse. And it's been good for finding a couple of problems, but I know it's giving me lots of information I can't do anything with. Both of these are a universal Wave.
All right. So worth your price of admission?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let me go. I did the demo. I just wanted to, I wanted to share this accessibility workshop site as well right now, and then we'll do the testing, because I want to basically share some of the problems that I've run into as well. So this is the Accessible Online Content Workshops B course. We just finished a draft of it yesterday. I want to share it with everyone here by the end of tomorrow. I could send out invitations. I would like Lucy to take a look at it before we go live with it. But the point being is that if we go to Module 1, Accessibility Overview, this is the workshop that we had in this room on July 27th. And it has our learning objectives. I actually added the attendance list as well so that we could foster networking. The workshop video is in here as well. It's a YouTube embed, but it also has the transcripts and the PowerPoint. And the interest that people identified is listed in here. And then the resources that we mentioned are in here. So after today's workshop, today's content will also be in Module 2. Is your web content accessible? So everything's going to be in here as well, just to let you know. I'm going to go ahead and run Totally on here and do the headings list. And I want to point out one of the errors that is coming up. Actually, this one looks pretty good. The heading levels are correct. It's saying Workshop 2, and then Workshop 2 is your web content accessible. So had the second, the H2 been workshop 2, just like the module name, then it would have been an error because there's no differentiation between those two heading levels, and that could be confusing. But let me see, is your website? So Canvas, or maybe we used to make this invisible, and I think it may have just become visible again. I'm not sure if it's a Canvas issue or if it's our own instance of Canvas that was creating that. Let me go, you know what it is? It probably is. So let me go back to the Berkle Hub, and I'll show you. I think this will probably be a better example. Let me hit refresh. I'm going to hit the Totally tool, and then I'm going to hit the heading levels. There you go. So this is where that error is showing up. So this is actually our instance of Canvas, and it's showing evaluation tools, and then it's showing evaluation tools again, and then it says general evaluation tools. So there's some redundancy there. So this is an indication that we got to go back and do some tweaking here. Something's wrong. But I'm sharing this because it wasn't wrong a couple of months ago, and things are always changing. There's always platform upgrades or updates that might break in. So we just got to be vigilant with this. Let me go back to the presentation, and it's time for us to start reviewing our own sites. So if you could bring up your sites, go to make sure the Berkle Hub's there so that you can install it if you haven't already done so. And I'll be walking around and helping y'all if you have any questions or problems, but start getting a sense using the Totally and the HTML code sniffer what shape your particular websites are in. And then we're gonna regroup, and I would really love to share a whole group some of your websites, and then we could discuss some of the possible solutions. And then the next thing would be to have Lucy test them as well. Any questions before we start getting our hands dirty?
Academic Center for African Studies, Mozilla Firefox.
All right, so for this next section, Lucy Greco is gonna share her experience using a screen reader. And we have a volunteer for the Center for African Studies. So she's gonna review the site and provide some feedback. And if there are specific errors that came up, you could direct her to those right now.
Okay, so who wants a quick, what is a screen reader first? Does anybody want that? Oh, good, we have a group that doesn't care. No, we have a group that all knows what a screen reader is. Okay, so person whose site this is there anything specific you want me to look for, or should we do a basic review?
I think a basic review.
All right, so I'm gonna start at the top of the page.
Link jump.
And is this loud enough for everybody to hear? This is about as loud as I can get it, I think. Here we go.
Link jump to navigation. Banner landmark visited link graphic University of California, Berkeley. Clickable search terms. Edit has autocomplete button submit search. Main landmark navigation landmark heading level 2 you are here. List with 1 items visited link home out of list. Heading level 1 academics. African Studies is available at Berkeley through many disciplinary departments via courses, link degrees, and link extension. There are also opportunity to study link African languages and link study abroad. The center also can advise students on link careers related to Africa and African Studies. Heading level 2 courses. Each semester, the center compiles a link list of African-related courses taught on the Berkeley campus. Graduate students may also take link courses for credit at Stanford University by participating in the Link Stanford Berkeley Exchange Program. Heading level 2 degrees. These degree program are of particular interest at the bachelor's level. List with 4 items link the Global Studies program. Beginning in summer 2017, students will be able to declare a concentration or minor.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. There's a list of all the links that you have on the page. So think about looking at those lists. Can you tell where it's going to go? There's one that I found a little lacking in detail.
Development Study, Peace and Conflict Studies 14, Global Poverty, Major 16 of 48 Level 0, Minor 17 of, Department of African American Studies 18 of 48 Level 0. Concurrent MA Program 21, Contact Page 20, Current Enrollment 35, Courses 36 of 48 Level.
So this one, only because I know what the content around it was, you might think that this is actually going to bring you to a list of all courses. but this is actually bringing you to the courses that you can take at Stanford. So what I would do is I'm going to move to this area.
Filter by. Activate. Move to button Alt. Out of list with 5 items courses link.
I got it, because we have a list, links to courses at Berkeley and then links to courses at Stanford, so I want to distinguish between those.
Exactly. So what you would do is say courses at Stanford is the link, not just courses.
In the alt text.
Exactly.
Academics Center for Academic.
Something like that, though, be written
Link courses.
out in the text that anybody can read, or just in the alt text, is that okay?
So it's in the text already.
Okay, I get it. So,
So yeah, so what you do is it's don't have a separate link with separate alt text, because then it would say courses at Stanford, courses at Stanford. Just increase the span of where the link is in that particular case. All right, so let's look at your headings now.
Elements list dialog. Type, grouping. Headings tree view. Level 1 menu 3 of 3.
So your first heading is menu. So that tells me that this page title is menu.
okay. And that's that.
Level 2 a member of the greater community can take a regular
Oh,
use.
sorry. I was at the bottom of the list. I didn't realize that. Let me go back up to the top.
Level 0 you are here 1 of 2. Academics expanded 2 of 2 level 0. Level 1 courses 1 of 3. Degrees expanded 2 of 3 level 1.
I'm using the wrong screen reader. I should have started with another screen reader that does a better job of this.
Level 2 a member of the greater community can take a
Yes.
regular UC Berkeley course.
Okay, look at
1 of
this
1.
one. Look at this one. A regular member of the community. Is that really a heading?
No.
It's more content, isn't it?
Level 1 menu 3 of 3.
Okay, so let me go to
Academics
the
Center
top
for
here,
out of list.
and I'm just going to navigate by the headings now.
Main landmark navigation landmark you are here heading level 2.
So that's normal that breadcrumbs start with a heading 2.
Academics heading level 1.
Academics, that's the page title. That's fine. What I was reading before is wrong.
Courses heading level 2.
Courses,
Degrees heading level 2.
degrees heading level 2.
A member of the greater community can take a regular UC Berkeley course. Heading level 3.
I still don't like that as a heading.
Yeah, no, and I think I have to figure out how to
Yeah.
talk to the extension people and how to.
Link Berkeley International Office. Heading through. Link UC extension. Under concurrent enrollment. For the course requirements. Credit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you could do that because there's no, I mean, it
So
might.
it's non-degree enrollment, maybe that would be the heading.
Exactly, there you go.
Menu heading level 2.
So that says menu.
List with 5 items. Link courses. Link degrees and program.
Yeah, okay. So I was curious about the fact that your very first link on the page was jump to navigation.
Out of list link jump to navigation.
When I click that,
Navigation landmark list with 6 items. Link about link people visited link academics link fellowships link research link outreach.
so that's fine. It came to a navigation section, but where is that on the page?
Out of list main landmark list with 5 items. Link work.
Yeah.
Part of that.
Link study abroad. Link work. Out of list navigation. Link people. Visited link academic.
So why don't you have a link to main content out of curiosity? So this is a skip or an anchor link, and a really important practice is this is for a keyboard user. It's not for it's not for a blind user, but it's what we find is a majority of the people who come to our sites with accessibility issues are keyboard only users. Somebody who's got carpal tunnel, somebody who's a quad, or somebody who can't use the mouse for some reason or other need to have these jump links. And you've got tons of links before the person gets to the main content.
Out of list visited link jump to navigation.
So let's see how long before I get to the main content.
Banner landmark University of California. Berkeley graphic visited link.
1,
Search edit has autocomplete. Submit search button.
3.
Main landmark navigation landmark list with 1 items home visited link.
Okay. So home is the first thing in the main content. That's probably not good.
Okay.
So what this is doing is the main landmark is those landmarks Joe showed you. That should be the main content of the page. This is actually navigational structure as far as I'm concerned. Home,
Out of list degrees link.
degrees.
Extension link. African language.
Home is the beginning of a breadcrumb.
Yeah, and that's in the main content right now, Joe. The landmark is spread over the breadcrumbs.
Study abroad link. Careers link. List of African related courses link. Courses link Stanford courses.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you have a tooltip on that?
Stanford Berkeley Exchange Program link.
Yeah.
List with 4 items the Global Studies Program. Development Studies link.
Okay, so I'm into the main content and I didn't realize it. So yeah, I would check where your landmark is, and this is probably a site-wide template that you can't do anything about.
Right, exactly.
This is for your developer to do.
So it would, title of that is a landmark.
Yes, they could also be using an HTML5 region for main content. All right, so let's check your graphics really quick.
Out of list University of California. Berkeley graphic visited link. No next graphic. Banner landmark University of California.
So all you have is the logo for graphics, so you're doing fine. And your search worked okay?
Yeah, the tag makes it sound like a Berkeley logo, but it's a totally different logo.
Ah, very good. See, I didn't catch that. So check the alt text on your logo.
Search edit has autocomplete.
And the search works fine.
No next edit. Submit search. No next form field.
On HTML Code Sniffer, the search button did have an error, right?
Did it?
Did it have a label?
It says submit.
It does say submit.
It does say submit, yeah.
Okay, so we're okay.
Okay, so we want the next one. Joe, you want to come put the next URL on?
Navigation.
I just saw that we're 15 minutes over. I was having so much fun. So I want to just give everyone the opportunity, if they need to leave right now, just to thank everyone. But if someone wants to also put another one in, we could do one. No one else is coming in right now, right?
Well, no, you've got a little bit of time building it set up.
Let's just see if there's one more volunteer, and then we'll.
So before we go any further, my team is available. We're a free service on campus. You can request a clinic, and we will do a more in-depth review of any site for you. And that can be found at webaccess.berkeley.edu. So we're completely free. We're a consulting unit, and anybody can bring us their site, and we will review it and give you some advice and some pointers and tips on how to fix it.
And I'm going to be linking to their site and to their clinic submission as well within that B course.
And the one point I really want to make is you should test throughout your entire process while you're creating your site, but it's always really important when you can to get a real person with a disability to test for you, because ultimately you're going to find something that's completely different and you don't know what's going on. And you know, it's best to have a person with a screen reader go through, or a person who's a keyboard only user. You can do the keyboard only testing yourself. Just disconnect your mouse and start tabbing through the page. Can you activate everything? Can you see where you are? Is your focus indicator in the right place? Can you pull down menus? All that kind of thing. It's really important to do that. Do you have any menus on this page? Any pull downs or anything like that? I didn't see any, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah, I don't think there are.
Yeah.
Sidebars.
Unlike the UPS site.
Yeah.
Nothing but pull down.
Okay. One more then.
Does someone else want to volunteer?
Lucy's seen our site before, so someone else should volunteer this thing.
Well, I mean, ETS is on Open Berkeley, so that's a completely different animal.
You want to look at the international site? It's
Oh,
work in progress, but extension.berkeley.edu. Go for it.
I should have used Java.
Extension. HTTP extension. Unknown. New line. Programs for international students. UC Berkeley extension Mozilla. Banner land.
Here we go. We're going to start at the top.
Caps lock on. Caps lock off. Link skip.
I actually hit the right keys. We'll be fine.
Link skip to content. Link graphic UC Berkeley extension. Banner landmark visited link heading level 1 programs for international students. Search landmark clickable search. Edit has autocomplete. Button site search. Navigation landmark clickable. List with 3 items. Menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable programs. Menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable. Menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable. Berkeley Life menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable.
Ooh, this has got pulled out.
Menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable. Student services menu button collapsed. Sub menu clickable out of list. List with 2 items. Link for agents. Link for academic partners out of list. Berkeley Quality. Global Community. Short-term programs to meet your educational needs. Portal sidebar complimentary landmark heading level 2 get started. I am combo box collapse choose an option. Main landmark link heading level 2 college foundations program.
I think I heard something.
Link suited for link list with 2 items.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to your search there.
Out of list portal sidebar complimentary landmark combo box collapse choose an option. Main landmark college foundations program heading level 2 suited for list high school students or
Okay,
recent.
no. So let's take a look at your little I am here.
Portal sidebar note. Combo box choose an option collapsed.
So it says portal sidebar, choose an option. So if I tab to that, I did not get the text that said I am. The way you can fix that is make the I am a label for the actual form control. It's currently just there as text on the screen. It's not connected to that as the ID for that form for that. But let's see what happens when I go through this, because these are tricky.
I am a high school student or recent graduate.
Sorry?
What is portal sidebar?
I don't know. You've got that text on your page. It's not something I came up with. It's the label, I think, for the section. But what does it mean? It's not pure, it's not English. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's telling me that this is the sidebar of the page. It's probably linking to an outside resource.
No.
Yeah. There's a portal sidebar. That text appears in your source code somewhere. Yeah.
I am a university student.
So this is good. This is actually working properly. Sometimes when I pull down these kinds of combo boxes, it will activate those right away and I can't move through and actually choose the one I want.
I am a university graduate.
Okay, so I'm going to choose that one.
Combo box choose an option collapsed.
Uh-oh. Another one. I have no idea what I'm choosing.
I have taken the TOEFL in the last 2 years.
Okay. So again, label that field.
Your score edit has autocomplete. Blank.
My score for what? I'm assuming it's for the TOEFL. I don't even know what TOEFL scores are.
Out of list college foundations program heading level 2 suited for list high school students or recent graduates all majors and subjects.
So how do I actually get it to activate those filters and add those filters? Did it?
So they already did it and you didn't have any feedback on it.
Exactly. Very good. All right, so I'm going to go back up to the top to those menus.
Out of list banner landmark.
The ones that I knew that were menus.
No next radio but banner landmark programs for international navigation landmark list with 3 items programs menu button collapsed sub menu clickable.
Okay, so that told me it was a menu. It was collapsed, and it's got sub menu. So I'm going to hit enter on it.
Expanded.
Very good. It expanded. It told me that.
Menu button expanded sub menu clickable.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
List with 4 items linked college foundations program.
Is this within the menu College Foundations program?
Link Berkeley Global Access Programs.
Okay.
Link International Diploma Pro. Link Evening Certificate Pro. Out of list menu button collapsed sub menu clickable Berkeley Life.
Okay. Did that collapse behind me or is it still open?
It's still open.
Okay, that's good then. That's fine. It's giving me the feedback I need. So I'm going to expand the next one.
Expanded. Menu button expanded sub menu clickable.
Okay, so you know your top item in each menu? That's what I'm coming to, and it's not actually giving me any information in that top first element.
List with 3 items culture link. Out of list Berkeley Life menu button expanded sub menu clickable.
So there's something in there that the screen reader is seeing as an element. It's not tabbable. It's only something that the screen reader sees as an element. So you'll have to see what that first item is. Maybe it's a graphic within the item.
Oh, yeah, the carrot.
Yeah, so the carrot is focusable and it shouldn't be.
List with 3 items culture link. Health and safety link.
Okay, so what I did this for is, did this menu, now that I have 2 of these menus open, do I have 2 of them open?
No, the first one.
Okay. So now let me show you how we do that.
Navigation. Access Berkeley EDU select. Programs for international students UC Berkeley extension document busy. Link health and safety. Home web access busy. Click. No next radio. Banner landmark UC Berkeley visited. Navigation. Web accessibility at UC evaluating your site collapsed sub-menu visited link.
So I'm going to go here.
Expanded.
So I've got that menu expanded. Now watch what happens when I go backwards to the other previous menu.
Web accessibility at UC collapsed sub-menu link. Evaluating your site closed.
It told me it closed behind me. That's a little trick we've added to all of our sites. So I can expand this one.
Expanded. List with one items, list with 7 items overview link. Our services link. Benefits visited link. Responsibilities link. Policy and standards link. Resolution process visited link. Campus captioning link. Out of list main landmark civility policy link. EFF. Web accessibility at UC closed.
And see, it tells me that it closed behind me as it goes. That's a feature I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's okay. I think that covers it for today.
So just want to thank everyone for coming today. This is going to be available probably early next week, and we'll send a link out to everyone else. And thanks everyone for sharing and for collaborating, and we're looking forward to future collaborations.